So my question of the week was: does UGA's loss to Florida blow the SEC's chance to get two teams in the playoff? All right. So I really wanted to get y'all's take on this. I mean, it's really an interesting question because Georgia was really the team. Georgia was the team from the East that was, had the potential to play Alabama, maybe squeak by them this time. I don't think they would have. I don't think a lot of people thought they would have, but they still had a chance. Okay. Their defense, they get a couple turnovers. Who knows what might happen? Especially without Waddle. I mean, with Waddle out, I mean that's a huge loss for Alabama, as we all know. I think that was kind of their best opportunity. Florida, I don't think anybody thinks Florida is going to go in and beat Alabama. My only question would be: does Texas A&M have a shot as a one-loss non-SEC championship if, of course, they continue to win the rest of the year? Notre Dame, one loss. Texas A&M, one loss. Who gets in?
Morgan, I'll let you answer first.
Here we go. Did you see that?
I don't want to jump. It's the Morgan Thomas show, man. I didn't want to jump in front of the host.
Did you see?
He needs to cheat off your paper, Houston.
Did you see this? You know what? Just for that, Houston, you are not going last in the picks against the spread. Okay.
Okay.
You're not going last. All right. So I'm pulling up my win chart here because Houston jumps the line here, or he goes backwards in the line. Let's put it that way. I'm pulling up my predictions with the SEC schedule because the big thing is the SEC schedule, right? So here's my thing, Al. They've already dropped a ton. They're 4-2. Now, I believe you may have a one-loss Notre Dame, and I believe you may have a one-loss Clemson. That's going to really hurt their chances of getting back up there. And then you potentially, Texas A&M has already lost to Alabama, right? That was the second week of the season. So they've already made it through. They're not going to lose to LSU. They're not going to lose to Auburn. They're not going to lose to South Carolina, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Arkansas, right? So
you wouldn't think, but you never know.
I don't know. For me, I'm thinking. I mean, are they? They've already played Arkansas. Are they playing Arkansas this week? Let's see. 1, 2, 3.
They're playing this week, don't they?
Well, they already played. They already played those two. They're not going to lose to Tennessee, Ole Miss, LSU, and Auburn. Those are the 4 games left. I went too far back. They've already played those games. But to me, Texas A&M, they ended up actually surprise winning Florida. Right. That was a home game. And so Texas A&M is going to cruise. I feel like Texas A&M cruises. Alabama, who do they play? They play LSU. They're going to beat that. And then they got Kentucky, Auburn, Arkansas. Where's the loss there?
So Alabama was cruising regardless.
Yeah, yeah. So and at that point, then you've got Florida. Florida, the only loss that I originally had for them was Georgia, but they ended up having Texas A&M. So Florida's remaining schedule: Arkansas.
They play Arkansas. Yeah.
Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Tennessee. Where do you get? I mean, Georgia's gone. I'm sorry, dog fans. I picked you, and you burned me, and you're gone. It's over with. It's over with. All right, now Houston, continue.
I'll say this. Now, I could be wrong. Everything's going to turn out fine for everybody. Texas A&M may have a shot. If all things stay equal, all right, everybody wins out. Clemson beats Notre Dame in the ACC title game. Ohio State and Alabama are undefeated. Then Texas A&M isn't getting in because that's based off of Texas A&M did not make a conference title game. Notre Dame and Clemson's one losses are against each other, one during the regular season, one in the championship game. Both of them played for a title. Texas A&M is out in that circumstance. I think the only way Texas A&M is able to find their way in is you need attrition from both Alabama and Ohio State. But the problem there is there are other teams out there that could jump A&M. I know this is going to sound really strange, but BYU, if they stay undefeated and are 10-0, 11-0, they could jump in there. And if they're beating teams 50-0 every week, they could potentially jump in. Another team, like I mentioned, if say someone out of the blue, like in Indiana, has a 2013 Auburn miracle season and runs the table, goes to Columbus, wins in Madison against Wisconsin, and then goes and wins the Big Ten, they would jump into the picture as well. So Texas A&M needs a lot of losses from all parties. They need everybody in the Big Ten to lose. They need everybody in the SEC to lose. They probably need either Notre Dame to lose twice before they play Clemson, or Clemson to lose again to get in that picture. They're not in a good spot. I'll say this season kind of has a 2007 vibe. And if anybody who is a true blue college football fan understands, that season was insane. People losing every week, polls just going everywhere. And it just has that feeling that there's going to be a lot of attrition at the top. I'm not going to say Ohio State and Alabama lose or anything like that, but it wouldn't surprise me. We're counting teams out. I feel like we're not accounting for like a team like Arkansas, who has really improved this year. They have made a complete 180 from last year. A team like Indiana, who could very well go and compete in Columbus. There are other teams on the schedule, and you never know. Gus Malzahn can't win against anybody. He can't beat Will Muschamp, but dadgummit, he knows how to beat Nick Saban. And so you don't know. He's won in Tuscaloosa before, so we don't know. But Texas A&M needs 2007 to happen in order to be that second team from the SEC, or really the only team if everybody's losing to make it in.
And you've got some more things to worry about too. Cincinnati, undefeated. The rest of their schedule looks fine. BYU, as you mentioned, undefeated. They're playing North Alabama and San Diego State. Tell me how they're not going to stay undefeated. Indiana's schedule looks tough. I don't think they can keep it going. Miami schedule depends on who you get. They still have a potential of being a one-loss team. And then, like we said, Texas A&M, Florida, Alabama may not lose another game until they play each other, until they're forced to play each other, right? So, and then like Houston said, Texas A&M may be left out at that point, which they would be left out, because of that loss there. But it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know what the committee is going to do, and then you add in something that I mentioned on Twitter at the Morgan T Show. Clemson is 7-1. If they were in the Big Ten, guys, the season would be over. How can this be fair? At the end of the day, how do you, with a clear conscience as the playoff committee, put a 2-loss Clemson above a no-loss 8-game team when Clemson has had to play 11 games and then an ACC championship game? It does. I just don't see how we're gonna get this together. I don't know how they're gonna figure it out, but what it looks like to me is Ohio State may even, throw in a COVID game. They may only play 7 games and still be up in the top 5 or top 4. It's frustrating.
I'll say this: if Ohio State has a COVID game and only plays 6 games, I think it's hard that. They may make it there, but they can't afford to miss more than like one. Like if they pull a Wisconsin and don't play 2 games in a row, they're out. I don't see a team going 5-0 or something like that and only going to the playoff. I just don't see that happening. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But it's still frustrating, even if you don't have a COVID game, to know that your Clemson team, our Clemson team, has played literally the entire Big Ten season as far as numbers go. And yet they still have 3 more games to go. So it's just a little bit frustrating for me to know that there's that unevenness in the scheduling right now. And not only that there's this unevenness, but that it was planned. And that it was planned from a league that started late on purpose and that refused to listen to everybody else. By the way, remember what I said at the beginning of the season. If all these teams would have started September 5th and played every other week, they would have had at least 11 games before the Super Bowl.